just to give you a flavor, I was so rabid in my belief in sovereign free will in my heart that I was in a class on systematic theology with James Morgan, and he was teaching on the sovereignty of God, and I didn't know what he was or what. He was saying things that I didn't like. And I walked up to him after class one day. He was quite a big man, and I was quite a feisty 1968, 22-year-old, and those were feisty days anyway. People going barefoot to class and wearing black armbands and marching in the street. And I said, Morgan, I think I actually called him Morgan. Isn't that awful? I said, watch this. Put this right in front of his nose like this. I dropped it. I remember doing that. Like, God didn't do that. I did that. I have a will. Like, that was profound. And I wrote, that was one class, and then there was Philippians, and I was bumping into things like, work out your salvation with fear and trembling, which of course I liked very much. Next verse, for it is God who is at work in you to will and to do for his good pleasure. I didn't know what to do with that. And so those two, and then there was Jonathan Edwards. They were all coming together, and I remember writing in a blue book, final exam for that course by Jim Morgan, Romans 9 is like a tiger prowling around seeking to devour free willers like me. So Romans 9 played its part, and just to comfort some of you, well, it isn't really comfort. I hope it's sustaining grace. I would go home. I was in an emotional basket case anyway because I was madly in love with Noelle, and she was thousands of miles away. And we were going to get married in December, and I went to school without her in September, 3,000 miles away. And so I'm just looking forward to marriage. And here my whole world is being turned upside down, and I'm about to get married. And oh my goodness, this is just a mess. And I remember going back to my apartment, single guy, back to my apartment and sitting down after class and putting my face in my hands and weeping. Which is, those memories incline me to be patient with those of you who have come to this and are willing to expose yourself to texts that we'll look at for the next 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 hours, and yet find it so difficult to fit it into the way you have seen the world. Tears are a regular accompaniment when worldviews collapse. It's not an easy thing to have your structure of reality profoundly altered, or some foundation pillars underneath shaken. It feels like your emotional equilibrium won't know how to cope anymore because you've learned how to cope with this vision of the world and this vision of God, and now these pillars are starting to crumble, and you're looking around for alternative pillars, and they haven't been put in place yet, and so emotionally it can be unbelievably disorienting and distressing and sad and tearful. So that's the way it was.